Okay, so this is Emily, Kelci, and Payton, and we did the inclusion of diverse learners. So this topic is meaningful to us because students should be introduced to different ways of learning and be able to socialize with their classmates in order to provide the best learning environment for children. This is important because it allows students to find how they learn best and improves their social skills inside and out of the classroom. When providing different ways of learning in students, it allows, oh, I lost my place here. When providing different ways of learning for students, it allows them to find what works best for them in order for them to understand the topics and lessons at hand as well, as it helps the teacher know which ways of learning enhance her students' learning so she knows what methods to use in the future. All students should be given the opportunity to learn in the best of their abilities in the classroom. When students work together frequently, they gain experience and increase their ability to work well with others. So definitely a lot of issues in a classroom nowadays are that students don't get the learning that they need because teachers don't know how to meet the needs of all students. So we feel like this is very important because all students' needs should be met so that they are able to learn effectively. So the definition, inclusion is extremely important in the classroom environment, especially when it comes to learners acquiring different strengths and weaknesses. Diversity occurs quite frequently in the classroom and setting and should be handled appropriately. The inclusion of diverse learners means that all students need to be met. When we started to research this topic, we found that group work has been proven to be an effective method for including diverse learners. Group work is effective because all students can learn new things from one another and see others' points of views. Did you know that there are 7 different learning styles? Visual learning, oral learning, verbal learning, physical learning, logical learning, social learning, and solitary learning. Research shows that teaching styles can be altered to meet the needs of every student. This problem is worth solving because if teachers take the time to meet every student's needs, they will have more effective classroom and a better growth among their students.
So our problem analysis, because of what we learned from our topics, we decided to look for innovative ways on how instructors can be aware of the diversity of students and how to work with them to create a safe and collaborative learning environment. And you can see on the right a chart that gives advice, just ways to create that learning environment. Ideas we can work towards solving this issue. We can create time each week for coworkers to talk about problems that they may be facing with students. They can also discuss activities that they use in their classroom and the negative and positive impacts of how they work. So this is when teachers get together and they kind of collaborate on what did and didn't work in their classroom and how they have certain problems, and then they can talk to each other on how to kind of solve these problems or what they did whenever they experienced these problems in their classroom. To create a DIY sensory classroom with the help of school funding. This is when we implement the use of a sensory room. And a sensory room is a therapeutic space with a variety of equipment that provides students with special needs with personal sensory input. It also doesn't have to be students with special needs. It's just a way for students to be able to get their kind of emotions and feelings out and learn differently with like hands-on equipment. This helps children calm down and focus themselves so they can be better prepared for learning and interacting with others. To implement the use of sensory classrooms, teachers should slowly introduce the sensory equipment so that students aren't overwhelmed. If they just go from a class that didn't have any sensory equipment or anything, and then they just go straight into a classroom that is just like filled with it, they could get very overwhelmed. They could not use the equipment properly. They just have to be slowly introduced and kind of explained how the sensory rooms work and what they're used for and how they can help them. This is the coworker collaboration form, like we were talking about earlier, how coworkers collaborate and come together to say how their kids are misbehaving and like what kind of discuss what they could do to help manage like student behavior and discuss the activities that worked well and didn't work well. And this is just some things that they can fill out so that the other person can have to look to. It says, here's what I tried this month for all of my students. And this is where you put what you did that month, like activities, ways that you approach the students. And then it says, here's what did not work. And this is where you put where students misbehave, where you saw that maybe that didn't work as well, so I need to try something different. And then you put, here's what did work, and this is where you put what did work and what you positively impacted the classroom. Then there's one problem that we cannot get past. This is where you struggle, where you haven't had anything that works, where you haven't and had this constant problem like all year. Then we have suggestions, and this is where students take, teachers take notes of other teachers' suggestions. And then we have this particular student loves, and then you put what that student loves and how that might affect his or her behavior and learning abilities. And then you put what the student hates too, just so you can avoid those things in the classroom. The last thing is suggestions for certain students' learning habits. And there is also where you can put what other teachers suggest you use in the classroom.
All right, the next is a sensory classroom ideas. This includes, you can put trampolines, swings, rock climbing walls, different science materials, like anything they can get their hands on, feel, touch, move around, stuff to calm them down, anything like that. And then the cost and the ease of implementation and potential impact. A typical well-equipped classroom sensory could average around $15,000. With proper care, they can last 10 years. So during this process, children gain access to the appropriate sensory stimulation, and their bodies learn how to respond appropriately to the stimulation. Sensory rooms can enhance learning through occupational therapy or adult-directed play, which engages different areas of the brain, leading to improved information retention. Time in a sensory room helps children improve their visual, auditory, tactile processing, as well as fine and gross motor skills. And this is what we talked about earlier, how the different learners have these different types of needs. By providing a sense of calm and comfort, sensory rooms help children learn to self-regulate their behaviors, which ultimately improves focus. And then for the coworker collaboration form, we suggest to meet with your coworkers of that particular grade level for about 15 to 20 minutes weekly to discuss and fill out their forms. And the rest is our reference. And that's it. So thanks for everyone for coming to listen to our issues of inclusion of diverse learners. Hopefully one day you guys can incorporate sensory classrooms and talk with your coworkers on how to fix problems to include children in the classroom.